YouTube, welcome back in. How's everybody doing? I don't even know where to start with today's video. If you thought roster mania was crazy before, it seems like you just followed Twitter today and every other hour a different squad was getting wiped on top of the squads that we were already aware of. We know what happened with LAG, we know what happened with London, we know what happened with Minnesota. It just continues on and on and on. So today we're going to cover some of the biggest stories. A lot of them do have to deal with roster mania. Some involve other pros that might be coming over to the scene from other games. Comes completely out of left field. If you're an organization that's looking for a piece to build on, that might be somewhere that you go. One thing that I'll say real quick before we get into today's news and notes, if you're unaware, I was on Minnesota Rockers podcast last night. You can go check it up on YouTube. I was on like the last hour of it. So if you're interested in just some hypothetical questions, and they asked me a few things about what's going on around the league, I was on with their COO, Brett Diamond. I was on with Ashley, formerly Optic Midnight. So I don't know, kind of a cool thing. So if you're looking for more Call of Duty content, you can find it there. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get into today's news and notes. As we go ahead and switch over here, the first story that I want to talk about is the one that I think has the biggest implications. I think this really hurts Chicago. I think it really helps Atlanta. I think it automatically puts Atlanta as the team to beat. But Pristini and Arcities, long been rumored, but officially they are out. If you go through, Arcities obviously replies, thanks Andy Miller and Hex for the opportunity. Also, Scump and this rest of his teammates, formal envoy, mentions them as well. Scump replies with just a simple word that just says pain. So this is a tough one. I think that this is the biggest move. I think going into the next year, if you had to have a player to build around, I think Arcities is top 2 or 3. So I really think that this hurts Chicago. I think it really helps Atlanta, but the dominoes just didn't fall in the favor of Chicago, and that's the way it goes. As Arcities said in his release tweet, he mentioned that he just finally wanted to be able to run an AR. He wanted to be that main AR. He said, thank you to all the fans, team, owners. Appreciate all of them for the opportunity and for respecting the decision of me wanting to switch to a main AR for 4v4. I've been a professional for 4 years and haven't had a full year running main. So thank you to Andy Miller and Hex. And that's what it comes down to, right? If you're Arcities, 2 years ago when you won the championship with E United, you didn't have the chance to run an AR because that's where CRAZIER was. This last year, didn't have the opportunity to run an AR because he was alongside Formal. He kind of did towards the end, but he wasn't just that main anchor AR. So this allows him to move on to do that. And if you go through the replies, you see Attach and Hex and everybody's down here in the replies. So you could go ahead and read them if you haven't been up to date on those. Next story, which is another big one, is from the New York Subliners. As they released Accuracy, they released Sensor, which I'm sure that you probably were aware of or you expected. They released Happy, who was coming off the bench, and they released Temp. So the two biggest ones here is probably Accuracy and Temp. Temp we already knew about. He said something on stream a couple days ago, but these moves are official now. So it opens the door to the potential signing of CRAZIER. I know that they're trying to play it off, but I think it's pretty much a done deal. And this is a squad to be reckoned with. One name that you don't notice here is you don't notice Zuma, and you don't see Attach either. Nobody's quite sure what's going on with Attach, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back. At least that's what he has said a couple times. So there you have it from the New York Subliners. After that, another squad that went through was OGLA. They got rid of Dashy, so that opens up the move for Dashy to go over to the Chicago Huntsmen. They also got rid of Chino, they got rid of Hollow, and they got rid of Goonjar. So a little bit surprised to see Hollow on his way out. We all know how well he played towards the end of Modern Warfare. We'll see if he gets a shot with another squad somewhere else. And then Chino, he had a decent stint there in the middle of the season, but wasn't really a standout player the way Hollow and Draza were, so we'll see what's next for Chino. After that, a squad that we had already heard a little bit of muttering here and there about was London. They released everybody from their squad except for Shawnee. Looks like Shawnee's the player of the future for London. That's who they're going to be building around. So we want to thank our players who represented London with pride. We appreciate the contribution from Scraps, from Dylan, from Wuskin, from Zero, from Rated, from Nab. So on and on. You can see all the players. They essentially got rid of everybody. I will say one other thing about them and all these teams getting rid of everybody down towards the end. So make sure you stick around for that. Not only did the one team in EU make their moves, but so did Paris. Paris says, we want to thank all of these fantastic players that fought until the last second of the season with pride. We wish them the best of luck in the future. So you have Zed, Shocks, Phantoms, Dens, Zuka, Kismet. Everybody's out. So potentially they're hitting the reset button also. Before we move on to some other news and notes, because there are a couple important things here that I want to make sure I cover. When I was on that podcast with the Minnesota Rocker, they did a really nice job of explaining that originally when this league started, they signed all their players to 1-and-1s, which means a 1-year contract with a team option for the second year. So you could have just dropped those players after the first year, or you could sign them and renegotiate a different contract, whether it's for less money or more money, or you could re-sign them and then pick up their team option in the third year. So some teams could be doing that, right? Because if you're thinking about like Wuskins, London would only have control of Wuskins for the first and the second year from that original contract. But if they sign them to an identical contract in year 2, they'll have them under wraps for year 2 and then also the team option for year 3. So this is a potential way to lock them up for one more year. Who knows how much of that we'll have going on, but it seems like it might be likely in a few scenarios. So just wanted to make sure that we were covering that. After all of these roster drops, a couple big stories that came along. Mental. So one of the most decorated console FPS players in the history of console gaming. He's a 22-time champ in Gears of War. Put out this tweet that says, really want to try and compete in COD this next season, willing to make the full switch from Gears if the right opportunity is there, and grind during the off season. If anyone is interested at all, let me know. And you can already see like Octane is in here, Hitch is in here, and there's a bunch of people. Frosty's here, he's in the replies. So I don't know. I'm not sure, you know, how familiar he is with different players around the Call of Duty League, just the scenario as a whole. But this is a player that you might be able to see get some play. In the same realm as this, we also got this tweet out of Snakebite. So he said, gonna try and compete in COD Challengers while I wait for the release of Infinite. So obviously his goal is set on the game that he's been playing forever, Halo Infinite, that is rumored to be coming out next year. He says, if any teams or players are interested, let me know. And this got a bunch of play also. You can see Kenny down underneath. You can see Maven with his remarks. So we'll see. I love the fact that he was humble here and just saying, I'm going to try to go to COD Challengers and see what happens. Who knows if somebody picks him up maybe as a sub in the 4v4 meta. I don't know if they would put somebody like this on their main roster, but maybe a coach, maybe an analysis position, maybe a sub. Who knows from there. Last thing that I want to just touch on before we sign off for today is that Chicago also got rid of Tupac. So obviously Tupac never really played for Chicago, but as they say here, the mastermind behind our S&D strats, along with having the round 11 ice, we thank Tupac. So a lot of people are giving Chicago's turnaround in Search and Destroy down towards the end of the year. A lot of that credit is going towards Tupac. So I don't know if this ends up hurting them or not. I'm not sure if they're going to have another strategist or another analyst like Tupac in the future. That's something that over the next week or so, I'm sure that we will find out, because free agency starts on the 14th. So that's about a week away. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of moves all over the place. But with that, guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm your one-stop shop for all things Call of Duty League. Any comments? What do you think about Arcities? What do you think about the subliners? What do you think about Dashy moving over? London, Paris, Mental coming over, trying to make the switch from Gears. All of that, comments, put them down below. Leave a like. It helps the channel. Thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.